time wounded troops are pulled from the battlefield, every second is so critical. You just saw the advances in medical equipment, but in the end, it's the medics making the calls. And our troops' lives are in their hands.
Hey, prepare to go to the shoulders. Move. Prepare to rack. Rack.
Major Kristen Zabrowski helps load a dozen men and women seriously hurt in Afghanistan onto the C-17.
Are you having any pain or discomfort?
As part of the air evacuation medical team, this 35-year-old says the pressure is on all the time.
I find the hardest thing is the kids are so young. I mean, they look like they're in high school, and you know, a lot of them have traumatic injuries. You know, 20 years ago, they never would have made it off the battlefield.
It's now Zabrowski's job to keep these troops stable and medicated as they're flown out of Afghanistan. Within just a few hours, injured U.S. troops arrive here at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany. With 8 operating rooms and 28 intensive care units, this is where those troops get the critical care they need.
And it is a rush, definitely.
22-year-old Nancy Mares from Santa Clarita, California, works in the hospital's operating room.
There's actually been a couple patients where they haven't made it. I get depressed and very thankful that I still have my limbs and I'm not burnt.
For those who do make it, these are the faces they often see when they wake up for the first time.
So a lot of the times the first things that they're dealing with is they're scared, they're shocked, they're a little anxious, and you just have to remind them, you know, they're home, they're in Germany, they're going home, and they're safe. That's always the first thing is we try to tell them is you're safe and you're here and we're gonna take care of you. We had a patient who kept waking up and asking me what had happened and asking me if he still had his legs. And I literally had to tell him about 17 times that he didn't have them. And it was just heartbreaking to have to do that. And you know, every time, it was very interesting because every time there was a different reaction. Sometimes he was mad, sometimes he was sad, sometimes he was laughing. If he wanted to cry or he wanted to laugh, I was there with him. So I laughed and I cried a lot that day.
Thanks to those doctors and nurses, thousands of lives have been saved in Iraq and Afghanistan. But once our wounded troops are home, the battle's far from over. They face a whole new set of challenges. When we first met Jerry Patterson, he had just survived a deadly mortar attack in Afghanistan and was one of 12 soldiers boarding this C-17.
It hit just to my left and blew through.
He had a cast on his hand, leg, and face wounds. Now, 4 months later, Jerry is at home in Utah with his wife and children. You can see life is much different, but his wounds are still very real.
Every day I go to physical therapy. It's a real pain, literally.
It's taken Jerry several months to walk again, but you'll never hear him complain.
The medical system in the military is probably the best in the world.
Another life saved on the battlefield, Nick Benema from Lodi. In 2005, Benema's unit hit an IED in Iraq. 4 men were killed. Nick lost his leg.
Do you consider yourself lucky?
Oh, every day.
Nick has been through more than 60 surgeries and countless hours of therapy, and his prosthetic leg still gives him trouble.
You can get mad and curse your leg, but you know, it's kind of your fault because you should know that what you can and can't do or with the leg.
The number of wounded troops coming home from Iraq and Afghanistan continues to grow. The Defense Department says as of September, 33,000 have been wounded in action. More than 1,100 are amputees, ranging from the loss of a finger to a limb. 818 have suffered burn injuries, more than 8,800 traumatic brain injuries, and 39,000 have post-traumatic stress disorder recorded on their medical charts. But the government cannot confirm how many are suffering from PTSD.
Are you confident that for the rest of your life, the military is going to take care of your health?
I'm not worried about it at all. I think I'll be fine.
But Nick's father is not so sure.
What's it going to be like when he gets out? Is he going to have a problem getting the prosthetics? If he needs help with his traumatic brain injury, are they going to do something for that? And what if he does suffer eventually from, you know, post-traumatic stress? Almost all of them do at some point in time.
I really believe over time, we're going to get this under control.
U.S. Army Major General Elder Granger is with the Defense Department Health Affairs. Even with pre- and post-deployment health assessments, he admits troops with post-traumatic stress slip through the cracks. But the military's working to stop that.
There is mandatory training, and especially in one of the services, the Army, on how do you recognize this. So as we continue to inculcate that type of training and recognition throughout our entire military forces, we'll see a significant decrease in terms of our suicide rates.
Despite the danger, the risks, and the wounds, like the dozen soldiers we met on that C-17.
Mixed feelings about going back, being in harm's way, being away from family again. Mm-hmm. But you feel like you want to finish the job. The hundreds of schools that have been built, kids are studying and they're learning science and they're learning biology and they're learning English and you know, you just see so many bright faces and such a bright future available for that country.
While the Aeromed crew flew those 12 back to Germany, our trip back home had much more delicate cargo. 6 of the patients on this flight home were in such critical condition, they had to transform the flying hospital into a flying intensive care unit.
But is there 26 patients or 25?
While a handful of soldiers made the trip from Afghanistan to Germany, 25 others are flying back to the U.S., and this stage is more serious. 5 of the injured troops on this full C-17 are in such critical condition. They have special doctors, special nurses, even respiratory technicians with them to make sure they make it on the 9-hour flight back to the United States.
We have small, portable, modular equipment that's very similar to what's in an intensive care unit. It's just that it's much smaller and it can operate off batteries for a period of time if it needs to.
If they didn't have this, would they be able to make it across?
No.
These critical care patients are surrounded by personnel because they're missing limbs, some missing parts of their skull. Heavily sedated, they will not remember any of this.
They're probably your most delicate cargo you're carrying.
Yes, very delicate cargo, and we generally try to make very light landings into the next airfield. So we try to make it as you know, smooth of a flight as possible.
Finally, the plane touches down at Andrews in Washington, D.C. It's a 6-day mission that has everyone from the loadmasters to the medical personnel sharing the burden of carrying these soldiers out of harm's way. But every one of them refusing to take credit for being heroic.
We're bringing home injured soldiers, and so it's very rewarding. It's an honorable mission that we get to take part in.
What do you say to the gentlemen that are like the ones behind me who said the real heroes are not the soldiers, the real heroes are the medics who save our lives?
Wow. Wow, I don't know what to say about that. That's touching. These guys are the ones that are taking the bullets. You know, they're the real heroes.
It's really an honor just to see them going back to their families after what they just did of defending our nation, and being on the ground out there and going through all the hardships of seeing what they see out there.
The crew makes one last trip back to Travis. This mission is over. But tomorrow, another local team will volunteer. Doctors, teachers, your neighbors, and your friends board another C-17. And although the faces change, they'll go to the same destination, Iraq or Afghanistan, to help save more lives. Officials with the Department of Defense credit these missions as the reason more men and women are surviving these wars than in wars past. We at CBS 13 would like to thank the personnel with the 60th Air Mobility Wing for taking us along in this unique mission. For all of us at CBS 13, thank you for joining us.